It's been a couple of 100 years or more since Joseph's passing. And what happened to the children of Israel in Egypt? They were growing, strong, prosperous, blessed in a foreign land. And that's exactly why they were enslaved. The book of Genesis ended in peace. Joseph had saved Egypt. Israel lived in Goshen, protected and provided for. But Exodus opens with a shift. Now a new king arose who did not know Joseph. This wasn't ignorance, this was intentional forgetting. A system that once benefited from Joseph now rejects everything he stood for. So, what happens when God's blessing becomes the reason you are targeted? We will see in this parasha. Shalom, everyone. This week's Torah portion is Parashat Shemot, meaning names. From the very beginning, this portion draws our attention to names, some clearly mentioned, some hidden beneath the surface, yet above all, it reveals something far greater, the unfolding of the name of God, not merely as a title, but as a revelation of his character. In this parasha, God begins to reveal himself more deeply. Later, he will declare, I am who I am, a name that reflects his eternal, self-existing nature. The sages teach that the name of God is not just what he is called, but who he is in action, his faithfulness, his presence, and his covenant with his people. Midrashic insights highlights an important contrast. While many Israelites remained unnamed in the narrative, their identity was not lost before God. In fact, the Midrash teaches that Israel was redeemed from Egypt because they did not change their names, language, or identity. They held on to who they were. This reveals that names are deeply tied to covenant identity. In the Talmudic tradition, a name is never accidental. It reflects essence and destiny. A name can shape a person's path. It carries meaning, purpose, and even prophetic direction. In this way, a name becomes more than an identifier. It becomes a formation. This is why Parashat Shemot is not just about historical names, it is about identity. Who are we? Whom do we belong to? And what does it mean to carry the name of God? Ultimately, we see the fullness of this revealed in Yeshua, the name above all names, through whom the character and presence of God are made known in a personal and transformative way. We will learn more about the names of Israel, but first, let's see what happens to the children of Israel in Exodus chapter 1, verse 1, all the way to verse 22. So Israel multiplied. They became numerous, strong, and visible. And Pharaoh said, They are too many. This was important. Israel wasn't rebelling. They weren't fighting. They were just growing. Sometimes your obedience to God becomes a threat to the system around you. Pharaoh enslaves them into forced labor, harsh conditions, and bitter lives. But something unexpected happens. The more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied. You cannot crush what God has blessed. So Pharaoh escalates. He then commands the midwives to kill every Hebrew boy. But the midwives refuse. They feared God more than Pharaoh. These women preserved the future of Israel. Without them, there wouldn't be a Moses. God often uses unseen people to protect his greatest plan. Pharaoh now commands all Egypt. Throw every Hebrew boy into the Nile. This is no longer a policy. This is genocide. Notice another pattern in the scripture. Whenever there was an oppression, God always raised a deliverer. And another, when deliverance is near, darkness intensifies even more. Oppression is not random. It often comes right before the breakthrough. God is not absent in Exodus chapter 1. He is silent, but preparing. Israel is suffering. Pharaoh is rising. And somewhere, a child is about to be born. But here is the question. Why does God allow oppression before he brings deliverance? We will see that in the next chapter. And as we reflect on the meaning of names and identity in Parashat Shemot, we are reminded that God not only knows his people by name, but he also calls them into redemption. Today holds a significant moment. At sundown, we enter the 10th day of the month of Nisan. In Exodus chapter 12, verse 3, God commands through Moses, "Tell all the congregation of Israel that on the 10th of this month, each man is to take a lamb for his family, one lamb for each household." And in verse 5 and 6, we are told, "The lamb must be without blemish, a year-old male. You are to keep it until the 14th day, and then the whole assembly of Israel is to slaughter it at twilight." Well, this is not just instruction, it is preparation. The lamb is chosen, set apart, and observed for 4 days. The sages note that this act required faith, boldness, because Israel was setting apart what Egypt considered sacred. Redemption begins with separation and obedience. And for us who believe in Yeshua, this day carries even deeper meaning. This is the very day Yeshua entered Jerusalem riding on a donkey, fulfilling the prophecy in Zechariah chapter 9, verse 9. "Rejoice greatly, daughter of Zion. Behold, your king is coming to you, righteous and bringing salvation, lowly and riding on a donkey." What was happening in Egypt with the lamb was now being fulfilled in Jerusalem through the Messiah. Yeshua, the spotless lamb, entered and was set apart, observed, questioned, and examined for 4 days until the appointed time of sacrifice. This connection is not coincidence, it is divine design. The Passover lamb in Exodus points us to the greater redemption in Messiah Yeshua. This is where it becomes personal. Just as Israel was called to prepare the lamb, we are called to prepare our hearts. I invite all of us to enter into his presence with reverence and prayer, because God is not only the one who knows our name, he is the one who brings us out. May this Passover mark the end of bondage, whether physical, emotional, financial, or spiritual. May every place of distress give way to deliverance. Just as God delivered the children of Israel with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, may we also experience his power in our lives. May we walk in the identity he has given us and step into the freedom he has already prepared for us. Because the same God who called them by name is calling us into freedom today by name. Tomorrow, we will look at Exodus chapter 2. Until then, stay blessed.